Well, everybody heard about the top 1%. Anybody who's actually getting into physical silver, they know about the top 1% in this country. And the perception of the top 1% is actually far keyed down from actual reality. The top 1% of this country actually has a hell of a lot more worth than, actually people perceive. The top 1% of this country actually estimated they have 20% of the net wealth of the United States. 1% has 20% of the net wealth of the United States. But if you start dividing up that 1%, it might be the top 1/3 of 1% has the majority of that 20%. I don't know what it is exactly, but they're connected into the financial and banking sector. So what do? My game plan is, I don't actually will buy anything from any large manufacturer pretty much as possible. I'll do everything on my own. Everything. And you can see some of my videos, I'll fix cars, I'll do repairs and whatever the hell it is. I don't buy anything from any large manufacturer because I always figure it's probably supporting something I'm thinking somebody's milking the most out of it. It's not actually the worker. The worker's probably getting crap pay. And, the ones that are not producing on the top that are figureheads, and they do get their power by political connections, basically, and shrewdness. Trust me on this. I can't really go into a lot of details on some things that I know. But most people are very wealthy. They're very polite on the outside, very friendly, and pretty damn cold-blooded when it comes to money. All the way, man. All the way. Actually, somebody with a lot of billions, they'll do philanthropy and things like that, but that's a public image garbage or maybe feel good about themself type things. They don't give. They don't give for nothing. That's a fact. So really the way to fight them actually is to support each other. And in other words, you're better off going to the individual or the little guy that does whatever, if you're supporting a vendor or anything like that, you're better off supporting those type of people versus, the big companies that are in the United States, because basically a lot of that stuff is actually imported from other countries anyway. But, a lot of people don't realize how skewed it is. Actually, in Russia, it's even more skewed. It's not just 1% has 20% of the wealth. It's actually 8/100,000ths of 1% has 35% of the wealth. And actually Vladimir Putin is about the top guy in there too. So I don't know why people keep running to that guy like it's a better alternative. And he's against the New World Order elite because he's probably even worse. You know what I'm saying? But people just won't see that. And that's actually the 99.99% of the problem. It's what people perceive is why they fight back in the wrong way. And actually, you don't really need to fight back per se. It's more or less don't support the beast. The beast being, first off, the financial system per se. Like if you realize, it's like you don't have to take all your money out of the bank and have all physical silver. But, one of your strategies could be to use a credit union, which is member owned. Now, that I realized for decades. Before all this stuff became popular, I knew this since like the 80s, okay? And, I knew all about the Federal Reserve conspiracies and all that stuff for many decades. Some of these things are basically new news to people in the last few years, but they're not new news to me. And, I realize this solution is not really to fight them. It's more to not partake in their garbage. And, we got a lot of different things coming up here. Like, I think unexpectedly, they took a different turn with Middle East policy. Obama took a different turn. And, I'm just going to comment on this because I said that I think Israel, I know unpopularly, I said this. I think Israel is getting set up. They may be. They might be. I'm not 110% of that sure yet. But Middle East policy is partly changing because, first off, the Bakken oil reserve, even though it's producing less and less each year, it's dropping off for what they have to drill. There's still a lot of oil there. We're pretty much energy independent between Canada, the United States, and even Mexican oil. So North America is fairly independent of the Middle East. There's also that Okavango Basin that was just discovered in 2013, where they just discovered that there is like a ridiculous amount of oil there, about as much as Saudi has, and it's just a matter of having it being tapped now. So that makes the whole area less strategic for the United States in that respect. But I still think that there's one embryo of truth to what Lindsey Williams was being told, and this is the embryo of truth. They want to create a conflict in the Middle East because they're going to rake the average person over the coals by having oil prices go way up, and I think that's what the deal is. Israel's being set up because you don't need to be a rocket scientist to realize that what Israel would do if sanctions were cut off, correct? I mean, if sanctions were stopped, in other words, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. So, and it's going to be like they're going to take all the blame for everything, which is, I've read into every conspiracy theory there is out there, and, I realize there's a little truth to everything out there, but it's not really the basic picture of the way things really are. The actual elite are not Jewish, and I just want to point that out. The actual most powerful elite are not Jewish by and large, okay? So when we are fighting the elite and we're fighting the establishment power that actually has a racket, they don't get this power by just raw talent. I give you an example is Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla got screwed over, Basically, he could have actually screwed over Westinghouse, because Westinghouse was in a jam at one point in time, and Nikola Tesla had a contract with him, and Westinghouse actually owed him a whole pile of millions, and Nikola Tesla tore up the contract and didn't take the money. That's the type of guy he was. He was just looking out for humanity. He just wanted to do his work. And those type of people aren't the type of people that get the most money. It's the shrewdest, and they're probably all burning in hell. If there's a hell, they're burning in it. J.P. Morgan's probably cooking right now, you know what I mean? But, if I was, I don't quite think like Nikola Tesla, and I don't quite think like J.P. Morgan either. But, I always think to myself, if I was Nikola Tesla and J.P. Morgan screwed me over, well, he had this little device you could stick on the side of a building, and it makes the building shake. I'd be like, hey, that'd be kind of cool. Hey, I'll wind this up. Hey, you feel something shaking over here, J.P. Morgan? He says, yeah, I don't know what that is. Are you going to pay me the money now like you said you were? That might work. You know what I mean? I'd only deploy it if I got screwed over, you know what I mean? Till, they fulfill their end of the bargain. So, I mean, I think there's a happy medium between, the good and evil. You got to be a little bit evil to be good. That's one way I look at things sometimes. And, actually, like I stick my neck out by going on here and talking, but I have to say that, the real way to fight the power is not to partake in them. Credit unions is a super idea. Silver's a super idea, too, because it is a lot better than the gold, because the gold, I think, could be confiscated. They ain't going to confiscate silver. I mean, if they can confiscate silver, they can confiscate anything, all right? That's just how it is, because silver is basically an industrial metal that's used everywhere, so how the hell are you going to do that? They can confiscate food, too. I mean, for all that, you see? I mean, they can confiscate anything if you're going to think like that. But gold, I think, since it's not really used for anything per se, it's just a store of wealth. And they could do a lot more with that unless you're talking about jewelry and stuff like that. So basically not participating in their game is the way to really fight the overlords more than anything. And we do have overlords. But you just have to remember that the game, the way people are that have the most, and this even applies to the professional class that might be making $500,000 a year or something. They're all like in these do-good organizations and stuff. It's like it's a front, basically. It's like, it makes the public think what a great person they are, You always give like, they could be doing a lot of other stuff though. They could be doing a lot of other stuff, and but the actual image has to be changed completely. So part of it is the image, and if they didn't have that image, people would like forget it. They wouldn't deal with them. You know what I'm saying? So actually, if you even look at like all the large banks out there with the actual general public, they try to put on a good face because they need the general public. They do need the little guy. They do. When you add up all that stuff, that makes all the difference in the world. They just can't be up here on the top of a pinnacle someplace and everybody, it's not going to work like that. They need everybody. They do. They need a little piece of something from everybody. And if nobody cooperates, guess what happens? You destroy basic. Well, you don't have to destroy them. They just go away. It equals out a lot better. A lot of things actually that are presented in the alternative media are flat out wrong in a lot of ways because they actually tell you to fight them, where it's more like you just don't want to participate in the game. That's really what it is. When you're going in silver, you're opting out of the financial system, or you're opting out of their game. And you are kind of tied to their game by the spot market, but that's another thing. I think if enough people did buy physical silver, that spot market would have to reflect a different price. But the other thing is, the credit union is another way. You could still have electronic money and things. Bitcoins, I don't trust right now because it went up so much. If you bought it way cheap and you have all this money, dump it. That's what I'd be doing. Okay, if you're buying it now and you're thinking it's the wave of the future, I don't know about that. I think it's a major setup. But why do small people buy into things like that? Because they want to get rich fast and they want to be in the upper echelon. They want to be part of that, the lizard people, if you want to call it that way. See what I'm saying? So, the thing is to really fight the overlords. You have to not participate in them. And that means doing everything on your own, pretty much. And, supporting smaller local businesses and things like that. Now, I'll support maybe the Walmart, but I use them for the food store. And the food store is all local. You know what I mean? It's all local farmers. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just a convenient place where they put everything together, you know what I mean? It's still coming. It's nothing's being manufactured. Tomatoes aren't being grown in China and imported over here or something by some large genetically modified organization that puts out special tomatoes. It's all grown locally. So that's about the extent of my support of the big box stores and things like that. But that's how you actually fight the power. You don't actually fight them. You don't participate in it. And, one of the things is a lot of people just don't realize that the elite are extremely smooth. I mean, it's almost like a politician, same deal. This guy's going to save us. Somebody's going to save us. I don't think anybody needs to get behind anybody. That's the whole deal. You don't get behind anybody. You just think on your own, you do your own shit, and you're fine. Because otherwise, you're playing into the same game. Because that's really how all the elite are. They always put something out there that has to get all these people to bite. They got supporters. J.P. Morgan's got a lot of supporters. They do. I mean, maybe not in the circles, in some YouTube circles, but they do have a lot of support in other financial areas and other things. The name's been around. It's got good behind it and all this type of stuff. But, if you think it's evil, it's more or less you just have to not participate in it. And that's really what's going to hurt them. That's what's going to hurt them more than anything. So that's my real way of fighting that type of stuff per se. It's like you don't actually fight it directly. You don't participate in it. And the people that are actually, you see often on YouTube that are the big names and also even the lesser names, they are actually fearmongers. And they do this, I think, well, they do. They do this stuff for profit. They do this stuff for profit, and they get people all riled up. I see a number of stories every day that I could put out that could scare the crap out of people and get more views and all this type of stuff. I don't like putting that kind of stuff out because it's nonsense. It's not really helping things. The way to actually fight the power, per se, is not actually to fight them. It's not to participate in them. And the answers are very, very simple across the board. So actually you probably see a lot more videos on how to do this, how to do that, and all this kind of garbage for some people out there, and more health videos. I'm going to keep putting out more of those because I think those are actually more important than the financial sector, but I'm going to keep up with the financial sector too. But I'm not going to play into the conspiracy crowd at all because I really don't like those guys, man. I don't like those guys at all, man. They scare the crap out of people, and they get people hooked on drama, and it's not actually productive. So you can fight the power a lot easier than you think. It's just that just keep going forward, even if you're going in inches. Just keep going forward. That's the whole thing. It looks like you're not making progress against the power, but you are. And that's important.